Brands, color, craft, and character. Welcome to the Color Bar, that friend in the industry who reads widely so you don't have to. This week we've got brands, logos, colors, craft, and personality. Identity and intent come together in the dispatch. Let's get going. Character, color, candidate. This has to do with politics, but do put your politics aside for a while. You might well be very far from New York City, but you'd have been hard pressed to miss Zohran Mamdani's historic win as the city's new mayor. You could have found him charismatic, inspirational, or the opposite of those. But the one thing that has been very difficult to ignore is his campaign. Everyone's been agog at the chops his social team have showed reservedly, but I specifically wanted to look at his identity and brand design. I've admired it from afar, but finally decided to delve in. Two elements are most striking: his name and the colors. Zoran was interested in pushing how expressive it could be. This from the designer who worked with him. The loud, confident, friendly Zohran, Zohran, always felt a bit handwritten. Turns out it was based off a serif font called Boheld, which designer Anish Bhupati tweaked around a fair bit. There's also a hint of vintage painted posters from Bollywood, which Mamdani sent to the design team for inspiration quite early on. The sign said this was no politician, no corporate suit, no slick boardroom exec. The name was an emblem, a rallying call in itself, a hero. Yet the hand painted feel also shouts hero of the people. It's loud without being wild, bold without being imposing, powerful yet friendly. As one commenter said, it's resolutely optimistic, warm, energetic, and approachable. But the personality doesn't stop at the lettering. The colors are vibrant, warm, and familiar. And I'm not even from NYC. There's a bit of the New York taxi cab, some hints at their sports teams, the Metro card, and equally what it's not. There's no corporate, political, polished blue and red. From an article, most political branding aspires upward: governmental, patriotic, almost corporate. This one looked sideways to community, transport, groceries, rent. The design spoke in the vocabulary of everyday life. End quote. So it's no surprise Anish says it was inspired by bodega signage. Quote, that bright yellow awning that's meant to stand out. It's a taxi cab kind of yellow that's just built to stand out. The thinking was if it works for them, why not? It's the primary colors that are on so many things in New York, like the Metro card and the New York lottery. End quote. The color palette doesn't feel imposed or imported. It feels like it belongs, while also being an invitation to belong. What a great combination that is. David Schwittek, a professor of digital media and graphic design in the Bronx, said the key takeaway from Mamdani's visual coup was that effective branding isn't generic or safe, but specific and deliberate. I love that. Too often, branding is seen to be something for all, but without embracing the brand or being deeply part of it, it can be left owned by no one. For me, this is how design feels like part of the strategy, not an execution of it. Though maybe Anish Bhupati has the best last word. He said, none of the boldness and vibrancy here works without a candidate that is as energetic and full of life as the city that raised him. Addendum: the Union Gothic font, which we see in all the posters, is by Matthew Hinders Anderson, who charmingly does not use the standard "the quick brown fox jumps over the lazy dog" text to display his fonts on the website. Instead, he says, all the sample text in the font samples above is from the goddamn wonderful poems of Mary Oliver. If you're not familiar with her work, boy, are you in for a treat. Of course, this piece is full of examples of the branding and design from the campaign, so do have a look. And I also did a very quick retrofitted mood board of sorts across NYC and a little Bollywood, which looks like it suddenly makes a lot of sense. And then just this morning, I spotted a piece, a very on point piece from Kian Bakhtiari, which highlights three key lessons for marketers from the Zoran campaign. Apple logos: expensive, illogical, cool. So you've likely seen that Apple TV has a new logo with some gentle colors and shimmers. The audio mnemonic for this is crafted by Finneas, producer, Oscar and Grammy winner, and brother of Billie Eilish. Crafting 5-second mnemonics is hard. But this has the potential to become quite memorable in a familiar sort of way. Or do I mean familiar in a memorable way? Said Phineas, if you're binging a whole season, you're going to hear the mnemonic 10 times in a day. So it's got to be something that's, like the bite of ginger between rolls or something. End quote. I don't have ginger in my rolls, Phineas, but okay, I get it. I've got a video here which lines up the 5 second and a 12 seconder, but sandwiched between them is the behind the scenes clip. The colors and light are likely meant to echo the breadth of stories, emotions, and genres that Apple TV holds within its highly curated library. Then there's the instinctive joy many had on learning that this was all done practically. A joy that would have been pretty real a decade ago but feels even sharper now in a time when many will ask, why not just use AI or do it on a computer? Maybe it would have been cheaper or even easier, and maybe we'd never even have known if the BTS clip had not been released. But it's part of the brand ethos, isn't it? And part of the marketing shtick too, to do it with humans and then gently show off about it. A quote from the TBWA Media Arts Lab that worked on it. Built from real glass and captured entirely in camera, the new identity explores reflection, color, and light to express the cinematic spirit at the heart of Apple TV. Every shimmer was made for real, no CG shortcuts, a nod to Apple's belief that craft should be felt, not faked. End quote. As one Lewis Hu put it on LinkedIn, inconvenient, expensive, illogical. I love it. There is also a 12-second cinematic version for films, though somehow, maybe surprisingly, I prefer the 5-second one, especially the audio. Reminder, this comes soon after the plus was nixed from the logo last month, so Apple TV now means the set top box, the app, and the streaming service. Not confusing at all. Also sporting a new logo is Apple One, the bundled subscription service. It looks like a sliced apple, each segment representing different elements of the subscription bundle. This was not done in real life. And so, to curated cuts, we have a periodic fable. Begin. We don't need no education. Futuristic classrooms, stark visuals, haunting repetition, and a Hannibal Lecter-esque moment. Love it or scoff at it, this will make you pause. The Ordinary is a beauty brand that focused on simplicity, clarity, and cost. From empty promises to impossible standards and overhyped ingredients, for too long our industry has taught beauty wrong, they say. This dystopian piece reveals their periodic fable, say like a periodic table, which they describe as a scientific table with zero science, filled with problematic terms and the truth behind them. We hope it will help create a better, more transparent industry where everyone can tell fact from fiction and science from story. In calling out the uncomfortable absurdity of beauty trends, the spot does a great job of pushing us just enough to check out the URL and find this periodic fable. I know I did. Some of the gems there include chemical free, nothing is chemical, not even the air in an empty bottle, K beauty inspired. If it's actually not from Korea, then the K stands for copycats. Flawless. When used in skincare, the term flawless contains one flaw. It is subjective, not science. And this one, legendary. Hercules and Achilles are legends. Marketing execs pushing meaningless hype are not. Quick links. You might have heard that Netflix is getting into the podcast scene. Lucas Shaw over at Bloomberg has a good take on it this week. He says this is a low-cost experiment. Netflix is signing one-year deals, many worth less than 10 million. It gets to see how users engage with video podcasts and whether this could be a new genre for the company. It also gets to keep some shows off the rival YouTube platform. Indian TV. While most streaming platforms remain focused on urban audiences, TV continues to be the primary source of entertainment in rural India. A recent Ormax report shows us how India's linear TV landscape continues to be a force to reckon with. Quote, it's estimated the country's TV viewer base to be 298 million against OTT or streaming's 110 million. Sora 2's videos of women being strangled. This from a 404 Media report. Social media accounts on TikTok and X are posting AI generated videos of women being strangled. Yet another example of generative AI companies failing to prevent users from creating media that violates their own policies. I wrote last week of the settlement between Universal Music and Gen AI music service Udio. Users seem upset that the tracks they want to generate of dubiously trained systems using copyrighted content and potentially eating into artists' work, those tracks are not going to be available to download. Said one Reddit commenter, what they've done by removing the download button is absolutely unbelievable. People are hurt, frustrated, and disappointed because this isn't small change. Boo hoo. There is a platform that claims it can expose exactly how much copyrighted art is used by AI tools. Vermilio, as it calls itself, tracks use of a client's IP online, then says it's possible to create a neural fingerprint and approximately trace the percentage to which AI generated output has taken from copyrighted material. I've got here an image which is of a spy in a tuxedo. And it clearly looks like Daniel Craig from James Bond. And Vermilio says this is 86% match with copyrighted IP. Are you a Pink Floyd fan by any chance? Sometime back, I explored 50 Wistful Years, Pink Floyd's commemoration of a burning man, in my other Substack, Coffee and Conversations. I've linked to it here and would love for you to have a look. That's it for the Color Bar this week. If you've got thoughts, recos, or ideas to team up, let's talk. I work with individuals and teams on content and creativity. If you like this, please subscribe and share it with someone else who you think might enjoy it. And as always, for something a little more eclectic and curious, there's my bi weekly Substack, Coffee and Conversations. Till next time, keep the colors coming.